You know, it's funny. We told you when the Eagles played the Giants in that last game of the season that they had quit. They had quit on the city of Philly and quit on themselves and the coaching staff. And how in the world was that offense all of a sudden going to jumpstart itself in a playoff game? The answer is they weren't going to, and they didn't. More concerning, though, of course, is that defensive performance.
Yep.
Because this is the same Tampa team that a week ago, when they needed a win to get into the playoffs and win the division, scored 9 points against the Carolina Panthers and did not get the ball in the end zone. Here's the part of the game that for guys like me, I don't want to speak for you guys, that hate the Philadelphia Eagles and don't like Nick Sirianni, loved. It was the desperation. Yep. So it's 16-3. Yep. Tampa gets out to a quick start. It's in the second quarter. The Eagles get a touchdown. 16-9. All right, kick the extra point and offsides, holding, whatever it was, so they can move the ball closer, get it to the 1, or just take the extra point. Now it's a 16-10 game. And Nick Sirianni decides in that moment, oh, I'm going to go for 2.
Yeah.
But there's no benefit. If you're 16-10, a touchdown and the extra point, you win the game. 16-11 doesn't do you any favors because now you need, if it's field goals, 2 field goals to win the game. So you're still a touchdown away, in reality, from winning the game. That's called desperation. That's called a coach who is so concerned with his offense's ability now to score points that he's going to take points off the board. Fast forward later in the game. They're getting blown out. They kick a field goal. They get a defensive penalty. They take the field goal off the table, creating a 4th and 5, incomplete pass in the end zone, and it's a wrap. You saw a head coach yesterday that was desperate, that was insecure, and didn't believe in his team. Those are the kinds of decisions that get you fired.
Yeah, because they struggle against the blitz all day. That's the bottom line. And when you go 0 for 11 on 3rd down, I mean, you're dehydrated. You're just thirsting for something to happen, some type of magical. So that's why you see him pressing that in that regard. And by all accounts, man, we talked about it earlier when we started the show. There was a great opportunity for the Philadelphia Eagles to say to the world, we hear you. Run the damn ball.
Yes.
Right. And you didn't, especially the way DeAndre Swift looked like last night. I thought him and Devontae Smith was ready and willing to carry this team and put them on their back, and they pretty much went away. Like DeAndre Swift had a pretty, Devontae Smith had a pretty good game. Swift did as great as he could, but overall, man, it was coaching. It was just, they got out coached in the worst way. So I'm sitting here saying, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, man, I don't know how you let Nick Sirianni back in that building.
Yeah, and for a lot of reasons. Not just because they've now lost 6 out of their last 7 games, but because of the turmoil. Because it's clear to all of us, that the Eagle players started tuning out the coaches, and you had a problem in that locker room.
Absolutely, and those are 2 things that both very much evident last night. Just this coaching, being out-coached, coaching strategy.
Yep.
I didn't play in the NFL, Willie, but I'm watching the game. I'm like, they're blitzing you on every single down.
But that's what Todd Bowles does.
Every down.
Todd Bowles blitz damn near 60% of the time. Like, he's going to send pressure. And what's crazy about the situation, too, which what killed me, you have Devontae Smith, and you have a big tight end, and you have guys who can gas you. Obviously, DeAndre Swift in the screen game is a monster. When the Philadelphians went Eagle, Todd Bowles blitzed them out of the slots. Go screen, throw bubble, get the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands.
Anything.
And time after time, Todd Bowles is like, all right, you gonna sit back there? I'm gonna continue to send the dogs
every time.
And they didn't just at all. And I'm saying this got to be the most mind-numbing football game I've ever seen in my life.
Every Eagles fans on the couch saying the same thing, and the announcers are saying it into the. They're like, well, they're getting blitzed every single time. They probably shouldn't be running these 10-yard dig routes. And they get their head turned around 5 seconds after the ball snapped. What is going on with Sirianni? At one point,
Aikman didn't know what to say. He wanted to say in plain sight, this is stupid.
Yeah, he's like, bro, I give up.
But
yes, exactly.
Like he wanted
it was that bad.
It was bad.
It's funny. A lot of times here you watch games and you try to convince yourselves that what you see is going to change when you get to the postseason. But there's an old adage where I come from, which is New Rochelle, New York, which is if it looks like a duck and it sounds like a duck and it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it ain't a goose. It's a duck. This was the Philadelphia Eagles for the last month and a half. So I think part of it was we all kind of mocked Tampa Bay, right? They kind of backed their way into the playoffs. Baker was hurt with the ribs and the ankle. Yeah. They scored 9 points against the Carolina Panthers. And then last night, you saw Baker Mayfield announce to the world, I'm getting paid.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And by the way, if Tampa wants to bring me back, it's going to cost them a lot of money. 1-year deal, $4 million, plus a lot of incentives. But you saw the comeback player of the year playing like he was playing against children yesterday in Philadelphia.
And it wasn't that he just looked great. They look like a new offense. Like, this is, if an opponent's coming at you and you think you're solely in the NFL going to get there with arm tackles and then he's not going to break that, like, it's just peewee football. Run your legs on contact.
Two things I thought in this game. Number one, football is a very easy game to play an offense when the defense doesn't want to tackle you. I mean, no joke. Like, you're seeing some of the highlights here, and it's just bad tackling.
All day.
And that's a team that's given up. That's a team that's totally quit. And like you talk about want to, there's no want to in there. And I think they'll be thrilled if Nick Sirianni and Matt Patricia and the rest of that coaching staff is kicked to the curb and a new regime comes in. Well, obviously, we'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. Belichick, Harbaugh, whomever else the case may be. But I actually thought on the very first drive of the game, I'm like, I wonder what Todd Bowles is going to do. Right, because Rachaad White looked like he was going to have a big game. And I was like, man, they played right into Philly's hands. After the Baker Mayfield scramble for 7 yards, it was incomplete pass. Oh, they settled for a field goal. And I said, damn it, hand the ball off to White. He was off to a very quick start. And they abandoned it. I'm like, here, Philly's going to come down. I'm going to be all ticked off. And again, I went to bed. It was 32-9. I don't know how the game ended. But when I went to bed, the Eagles were losing. But early on, I was like, man, I felt like Tampa, gave Philly a shot. And then it was very clear, 8 minutes into the game, 3 drives or so into the game, that the Philly we saw against the Giants, against the Cardinals, was the exact same Philly that we were going to get last night.
Yeah, and like we said it before.
And I love it.
After those
I love it.
After those
Matter of fact, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got to do it.
Craig's going to finish with 40 by the end of the show.
You're going to want to stay tuned.
Philly, this is for you.
You're going to want to stay tuned.
It's safe for Philly.
Who's it for?
This is for my New York Giant fan friends, and this is for all you Cowboy fans who are calling out sick today because of your embarrassing performance. I got you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sun's down.
Boy, Craig.
Bottle up. There you go, baby.
Woo!
Live it up.
Is there anything better in life, I'm sorry, Jacoby,
no problem,
than when a douchey, arrogant team from Philadelphia embarrasses itself in front of 20 million people? I can't think of anything better.
They didn't just embarrass themselves. I mean, it was, you lost to the Bucs. That's
Craig said
bad.
earlier, they scored 9 points against the Panthers 7 days ago.
Right.
8 days ago, they scored 9 points against the Panthers.
The Eagles were favored in this game by like 4 points because of what happened between Tampa and Carolina.
Yeah.
And a must win.
Brady wasn't on the field,
Now,
man.
here's what's going on real quick before we take a break. I want you to know this. It's very important. My man right here, Mr. Willie Colon, is saying to himself, man, we just did 19 minutes. We're all on the same page. We're all making fun of Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's great.
We're all saying great things about Tampa.
Great.
The show's going perfect, right?
Yeah.
What he doesn't know is that after this break, we're going to discuss the Bills and Steelers game.
Oh!
And we're going to toast to Pittsburgh.
Here we go.
Hey there. Thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.